Julie, thank you so much. Today, the Senate continues to battle over plans to keep student loan interest rates from doubling come July. The sticking point, how to pay for the move. Democrats want to eliminate a tax break for some corporations. Republicans back a plan to pull the funds from a preventative health care fund. Joining us this morning, Niels Lesniewski, editor of CQ Senate Watch. Good to see you. You know, it just seems that a lot of people will be in dire straits come summertime if something isn't done. How big of a problem is this, Niels?
Well, these are subsidized student loans, so they affect about 7 million borrowers, perhaps. And for those borrowers of federal student loans, they're talking about having their interest rates double from 3.4 to 6.8%. And it's a problem that I think both sides plan to find a way out of, Democrats and Republicans, but in the meantime, it looks like we have another showdown on our hands.
Okay. So you do think a compromise will be reached for the good of the people who will really be affected by this?
Well, it's an election year, and I would not want to be the politician who is the one who is targeted with being responsible for raising the interest rates, which effectively raises the cost of college for these students by, I heard, an average of $1,000 a year.
My goodness. Okay. And we have been, you use the term showdown. We've been saying that. Is that really a fair assessment? Is that what we expect to see?
It looks like that's the way it's headed. Just yesterday, we learned that the Senate Republicans plan to block the bill from going forward that's coming up for a vote, procedural vote at about noon today, and then it will be back to the drawing board for the leaders in both parties to go into some back room and negotiate a solution.
Is it possible that just a simple bill could be passed? It seems like a lot of riders are sort of attached to it, which, of course, you've spoken to, which lead to this debate here, or the fact that it's not just passing. Is it possible just to say, okay, just strip it down and pass this thing and help folks who will be affected? How likely is that?
That's not very likely, to be perfectly honest, because it costs about $6 billion. So 1 year of extending these lower interest rates is going to be scored as costing the federal government $6 billion or so, which is, you know, in this sort of era that we're in where we're talking about reducing the federal deficit, you really can't do anything without finding savings someplace else.
Right, attaching it. Okay, and you spoke to this a little bit, but is it worse because it's an election year? Are people trying to say, well, we're not going to pass this without attaching this? It's become more political.
Certainly it looks that way. President Obama and the cabinet and Vice President Biden have been going around the country holding events on this subject, and you can tell that's related to the election year. Same thing on the Republican side. Governor Romney has already said that he supports making sure the interest rates don't go up, but I'm not sure this would be quite the priority that it's been if it weren't approaching a presidential election.
Interesting. Okay, and what financial offsets do you think are needed to sort of basically allow the freeze at where it is now, which is 3.4%?
Well, both of the offsets that have been proposed so far, one of which would, as you mentioned earlier, reduce funding for a preventative health service fund in the health care law from a couple of years ago, and the other one that would essentially eliminate a tax preference for certain companies that are organized certain ways. Neither one of those looks like it's going anywhere right now, so that's why we'll probably see leaders, Speaker Boehner, Majority Leader Reid from the Senate, go in and try and work out something that can be amenable to both sides.
Before we let you go, primary races, a contest today. Richard Lugar, how big in trouble is Senator Richard Lugar this time around?
It looks like that Senator Lugar is going to lose his Republican primary. I would say that if you had to guess right now, with the polls in Indiana opening soon, that come tomorrow we will find out that Richard Murdoch will be the Republican nominee for that Senate seat. And Lugar's been in the Senate for decades and has represented the people of Indiana for a very long time, but it looks like his campaign just ran into a wave that it is not going to be able to overcome.
Okay. Niels Lesniewski is editor with CQ Senate Watch. Appreciate you coming in today,
Thank
sir.
you.
Over to you, Tony.
All right, Allison, thank you very much.